see that? It's washed out, isn't it?
I can see it okay.
Okay, let's go ahead with it. Oh, no, because then I can see my notes.
I'm back on.
Turn it back on.
All right, well, anyway, go ahead. First of all, maybe introduce myself. What would you like to know about me?
Who are you?
Who am I? I'm Keith Lane. I'm right. Putting that on. There we go. That's on. So I must have my hand. There you go. Right there. I'm right there. Keith Lane, and I'm here from Wenzhou in China. It's a American university that's opened up there. I'd like to congratulate Lakeland College on becoming a university just recently. We've had something happen just recently as well. We've graduated our first senior class, so that makes us 4 years old now.
Thank you.
Okay. And about me, I've lived in Japan before. I lived here for not quite 20 years before moving to New Zealand. A year ago I was in Malaysia, and now I'm in China since September. All right? I've been doing a lot of teaching academic English. I taught university level here in Japan, and then in New Zealand, and in Malaysia, and now in China. I've been particularly working with for example, freshman comp skills is essentially what we're doing in English language program, immersion programs that students are getting. They're writing up to snuff to compete with the native speakers, right? Okay. Here we are presenting at the end of the day. There's some advantages in that. One advantage is that many people have gone home, so I don't have to be embarrassed in front of so many people. The other is that the other people who are remaining have lost energy to complain. Okay? And finally, probably, I get a chance to sum up some of the other things that I've heard during the day and integrate that into my speech. That makes it sound like I'm in an anchor's position rather than in a consolation position. Okay? All right. So, I've got 3 reasons for being here. The first one, the most explicit one, is to give this presentation and to inspire other teachers. The second one is that I'm looking for opportunities for my students for cultural exchange. So if anybody is interested in that, please talk to me. I've got, some people know, I've got students in China who are interested not only in the world and America, they're in an American university, but they're also interested in Japan. And I've got some students who are studying Japanese with me without getting any credit for it because of a similar problem that you have. I can't get the college behind me to resource what I'm already doing with them, okay? And then I've got my third reason is more self-serving. The most self-serving is that I'm kind of interested in coming back to Japan at some point. And so if anybody's knows some good positions opening up, please let me know about those as well. Okay, but now let's get on to the main reason, the explicit reason. And take a look at this next slide. Okay, my title is Team Authored In-Class Compositions. And I'll give you this, I think maybe, over here, this button right there. This is maybe a good example. Here we've got something that the students are going to decontextualize, basically, what's the word? Deconstruct, and then put together in their own words in a writing. Now, can you see that? This is being written by a team of students of 4. Our class has 20 students. We've got 5 teams, each writing an essay on their own, right? And if you notice that the script changes right from one sentence to the next, that's because each student is writing a different sentence, but they're working together on what to write. So if you want to imagine it, you've got these tables, banks of tables, with these students huddled around, talking to each other and making a plan, and then writing something, and then passing the pen and the paper to the next student, right? So, and they're all kind of, that tends to get them out of their seat, kind of going like that and leaning over each other's shoulders in conference, okay? So it's actually kind of good, at least for getting them out of their seats every now and then. They don't have a chance to go to sleep as some of the students that we saw talking in the youth conference thing before. So what have I got here? I've got 3 to 4 student teams. That's how many students are in a team. I'm setting them language. I have a learning objective. In this case, the learning objective is to deconstruct the information in this graph to write up a comparison and contrast essay. So what they need to do is take the information out and decide how they're going to organize it so that how they're going to group the information to make 2 body paragraphs instead of just listing like one sentence per thing. In other words, they have to figure out how they're going to massage the information into a paragraph. The learning objective. And the structured task, I'll tell them you're going to write a 4-paragraph essay using the information on here. This is an introduction to comparison and contrast essays. And we've already talked about some of the features of a comparison and contrast. This is a chance for them to apply that. Okay? So this process, and in the response is that when they get finished with this, they're going to hang their essays on the wall, not actually on the wall, on the whiteboard, with magnets. We'll put them next to each other, we'll stand, and we'll read each one of these, okay? And at the end of that, we go through and we talk about the features of each essay, and how one is stronger than another one, or just different from another one, or unique. And some good strategies that were used, some poor strategies might have been used, and why they were poor strategies. And also we'll talk about such things as grammar, etc., as we go through, which is important, okay? So we can talk about grammar mistakes, not just the grammar mistakes, but grammar mistake patterns that we see in the different essays and see if they're showing up the same way. That gives them a chance to look at that from the teacher's perspective. Because the teacher gets all these papers from them, and we're going, oh, I've got to correct that one again. I've got to correct that one again. I've got to correct that one again. This gives them a chance to see things the way the teacher does, actually. Okay. Any questions so far? Can you read that? Yes or no?
Most of the words.
Huh?
Most of the words, but maybe not all of the words.
I've got lots for you to read that'll be easier, but that's a good example of one. Well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs. Okay, it's too bad. I was expecting that to show up a little bit better. Or maybe I was just thinking of a bigger screen. Let me elaborate a few things. This is writing for academic purposes with ESL students. I've used it in Japan, and I've used it in Japan. I've used it in Malaysia. I've used it in China now. I've used it in New Zealand. Usually, I haven't tried using it with certain nationality groups, like, for example, English-speaking students, that is, Americans or New Zealanders, and I haven't used it with Arab students, so I don't know if there's a cultural perspective or not. I can just tell you that, in my experience with the Asian students, it works very, very well. It results in formative products. I'm not summative, and I'm not grading these in terms of, giving them grades or stuff. This is a experience that they're having to move forward into their own individual writings. They each have to write their own comparison contrast essay, right? But before they do that, doing it together as a team gives them some experience and lets them experience the same kinds of problems that they're going to experience once they do it alone. But when they get doing it with a team, they have the advantage of other people being there and helping to work out the problem. Okay? Classes, I haven't tried this with classes over like 25 students. Okay? That's the maximum I've tried it with. I don't know how it would work. And I believe it falls into the active learning paradigm. It's learner-centered, experiential, and cooperative. Any questions or comments before I go on? No? Okay. All right. So this approach sort of has grown organically in my teaching methods because it answers lots of problems, the challenges that teachers face with this. For example, how to make academic writing active and student-centered, whereas academic writing is sort of inherently isolating. You get that piece of paper with a pen. No, these days you don't have a piece of paper either. You have a computer and nobody else exists, right? Okay? That's very isolating. So how to make a class that's the objective is to do academic writing very integrative and cooperative, right? Who was, in a sense, a guy was speaking earlier about dopamine in the learning process. That's what I think is quite important, that sense of having fun in the class, right? And this is a very fun activity. I think this, okay? How to address the generic writing challenges in class. I mean, textbook inappropriateness. Okay? One of the problems with textbooks, of course, is they're written for a generic audience, right? And they're not your students, they're some other concept of a student. In our particular program, we have a special problem because our textbook decisions are made in New Jersey. And I don't think they're good decisions even in New Jersey. So we get stuck with it over on this end, and we have to somehow align the course and the textbook to the students. It would be nice to have at least one course that's already aligned with the students, okay? So just a lot of extra work. But then there's also the fact that textbook-like exercises are not geared so that the students learn what they need to learn at the appropriate time. That is, just when they need to know that. If you can talk about, well, you're going to need some practice writing topic sentences, and they write one topic sentence and they write another topic sentence, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be uptaken so that it becomes automatic when they're actually doing the writing. The best time for them to face that is when they're actually trying to write an essay. Okay? Same with a thesis statement. Also, it answers the questions how to scaffold difficult summative tasks. These students are going to be writing these essays, and it's a whole range of things they need to be able to do. This is a way to broach and give them some practice in that, some experience with that, in a scaffolded way. And most important is whatever I teach them is going to have to result in very dramatic improvement over 2 terms. Okay? Improvement, very dramatic because they're going to be they're in an English immersion program, and they've got to satisfy the school that if they had taken the same classes in New Jersey, they'd have graduated with the same grades. They're a bit sticklers for that. They're not making any allowances for the fact that these students are not in an immersion program in New Jersey, where they have a whole community of English speakers around them. And along with that, the elephant in the room is the P word. Who knows what that is? Oh my goodness. Who knows what the P word is? Plagiarism. You want to avoid that, okay? Okay. So anyway, here's where you're going to do some reading, because I'm going to have a lot of words. This is the nuts and bolts when I'm giving them the... you know what? I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go into some results. Here's the mad cow disease reading. Now it's going to ask you to go ahead and read. This is a product of one group in one team in the class. Can I go on to the next one? Okay, so that's the same essay, that's the last 2 paragraphs. And that's the conclusion paragraph. Any reflections or comments before I go on?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought they did a very good job. That's actually a first semester group. Now, what I'm going to show you, this is actually an individual's performance. Not a poor individual, she's actually pretty high, upper 50% in the class. Here's how she was performing by herself. This is after substantial feedback. This is her final draft. It's my feeling that, in fact, the group's essay was a good model for her because it was actually superior to her own individual writing. Gave her experience at least to see what together they could do and gives her a goal for where she wants to be. Now, here I told you I need dramatic results by the end of the year. This is their most recent work. It was done a couple of weeks ago. This was an uncorrected draft. Okay, so this is their writing without my help at this point. Can you read that? Maybe you should go to the next one. It's a little bit larger. It's a very small screen, huh? Can you read that? No. Is there some way to increase the size?
Move the projector back.
Okay, yeah, good idea. Boom. That's a good
I don't know
point.
if it's worth it, but
Good. Can you get the focus for me?
might not be worth it.
All right. Okay.
That's good.
Okay. Well, if you could see them, you would see. I think of. Can you see that then? Huh?
I
Yeah,
can.
you can see now, yeah, that's fine.
Can you see? Can you get a sense that they've made a very big improvement from the beginning to the end? This is without my reworking it for them, without having them rework anything. Okay, so it's been a very satisfying year, and this is quickly how they see what they see as important in their work. They don't have a very high regard for the textbook exercises. For peer review, they like that. The group writing, they rated that quite high. The only thing that's more important to them is the response from their teachers. One of the things I want to say is, when the students are doing a writing, it's impossible for me to monitor the writing of 20 students going on at the same time. And that's, of course, when it's easiest to give them, most important to give them some advice, is when they're actually writing. Because then you can say, hey, you need another sentence in here to improve the cohesion. But when I've got 5 groups, 5 essays going on instead of 20, I can do that. I can visit every single group and just keep on going through and monitoring their progress. And, oh, I like that response, okay? I like what you've done here. Why don't you change that word? I think you've got the wrong form of it. Then he can work it out. He's telling me to stop. But before I do that, I'm just going to say, I want to meet people. If you're interested in this, I want you to email me. Let's form an e-community. And let's meet in Japan again later in the year, or maybe a year back from now here. Let's share some ideas with regards to research and promote writing teams' procedures. Thank you.